A new report, Marriage Health in America, found that 74% of marital relationships in the U.S. may be considered as healthy. On the other end, 21% of marriages may be considered in a state of crisis, where the couple is pursuing divorce or considering divorce, or just have no hope for the marriage. How can we avoid being in the latter statistic? Which warning signs were seen in the marriage of Big Meech's parents that we all can learn from? In case you don't know who Big Meech is, Demetrius Big Meech Flenory and his little brother Terry Southwest T. Flenory were from Southwest Detroit and co-founded the Black Mafia family, BMF, one of the most infamous drug trafficking organizations in U.S. history. Their rise and fall traces a journey from teenage street dealers in the late 1980s to leaders of a multi-million-dollar empire with influence stretching across the nation. The brothers began selling cocaine as teenagers in Detroit. Their partnership thrived because of their contrasting personalities. Southwest T's low-profile, business-focused approach complemented Big Meech's flashy, charismatic persona. This balance allowed them to expand operations across major hubs, including Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Miami. At its peak, BMF reportedly moved thousands of kilograms of cocaine each month, laundering profits through luxury homes, cars, and even a hip-hop label, BMF Entertainment, which gave the organization further visibility in the music industry. As their empire grew, so did the tension between the brothers. Big Meech's high-profile lifestyle clashed with Southwest T's strategy of staying under the radar. Wiretaps later revealed T's growing frustration with his brother's reckless behavior, which created a crack in their partnership. Law enforcement had been investigating BMF for over a decade, relying on surveillance, informants, and wiretaps. In 2005, authorities indicted the brothers and over 150 associates on drug and racketeering charges. At the time, investigators valued BMF's assets at roughly $270 million, seizing $21 million in cash, jewelry, and other possessions. By 2008, both Meech and T pleaded guilty and were sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. The collapse of BMF has since become the subject of books, music, documentaries, and a popular Starz TV series. The Starz series also highlights the struggles of their parents, Charles and Lucille Flenory, whose personal story offers important lessons about love, marriage, and family. Lucille Flenory was a devoted Christian woman who worked tirelessly to raise her children with faith and strong moral values. She took on jobs to support her family and even set boundaries with her sons when necessary, once forcing Big Meech out of the house after he brought home a gun. Charles Flenory, a carpenter and musician, pursued his passion for music from a young age and remained active in the church as a guitarist. He founded Gospel Sounds Record Corporation and later became remembered as a supportive but firm father. He passed away in 2017. Despite their son's involvement with BMF, neither parent was directly tied to the organization. They remained supportive of their children as family, even visiting and encouraging them throughout their legal ordeals. However, Charles and Lucille's marriage eventually crumbled under the strain of financial stress and unresolved conflicts. Lucille withheld intimacy from Charles during stressful times, which left him vulnerable to temptation. He eventually had an affair with Lucille's friend, leading to their divorce. Losing both his marriage and his music career, Charles spiraled into despair and even showed signs of suicidal thoughts, though he never gave in to them. Their experiences show us 4 critical warning signs to avoid in our own relationships. First, withholding intimacy. Husbands and wives should not deprive each other of physical intimacy, except by mutual agreement for a time of prayer. Otherwise, they risk opening the door to temptation. The husband gives authority over his body to his wife, and the wife gives authority over her body to her husband. By withholding herself, Lucille unknowingly left Charles exposed to Satan's snares. Second, failing at self-control. God wants us to control our bodies in holiness. When Charles turned to dirty magazines, he didn't satisfy his desires, he strengthened them, leaving himself weaker against temptation. If your wife is withholding herself from you, the right response is to seek God's strength, telling him your frustrations through prayer and finding healthy outlets, not sin. In summary, turning to sexual sin lends itself to less self-control. The third warning sign to avoid is rejecting correction. Pride is dangerous. Charles could have avoided disaster by humbly listening to his pastor's correction instead of rejecting wise counsel. If you reject discipline, you only harm yourself, but if you listen to correction, you grow in understanding. The last warning sign is playing with fire. Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned? Charles foolishly put himself in compromising situations with his wife's friend, and the predictable happened. Had he valued wisdom, as Proverbs tells us to love her like a sister, he would have been protected from such sin. The stories of BMF's rise and the Flenory family's collapse deliver a sober warning. On one hand, unchecked ambition or greed bred crime, arrogance, and imprisonment. To avoid poverty, the boys pursued wealth over God. On the other, neglected intimacy and pride opened the door to betrayal, divorce, and brokenness at home. Both paths reveal the same truth. When we ignore discipline, flirt with temptation, or reject wise counsel, the fall is only a matter of time. Fortunes can vanish, reputations can crumble, families can fracture, and shame can linger for a lifetime. The Flenory story cautions us that destruction rarely arrives all at once. It comes step by step, wrong turn by wrong turn, until there is no easy way back.